Welcome to I Am Her, where spiritual meets spicy, F-bombs meet forgiveness, and shadow work occasionally throws glitter.
Welcome.
Here we are again. Welcome to I Am Her. I'm just going to warn y'all right now, I have a bit of laryngitis, so I sound like I have emphysema, and I've never smoked a cigarette in my entire damn life. So just bear with me. This is my hot, sexy 1-900 voice.
1-900? What is 1-900? What is 1-900?
You don't know 1-900? Oh,
I know 1-800.
When I was younger,
Back in the day, we walked uphill in the snow, both ways.
You could dial 1-900, usually 900-976, and it was either phone sex or like a psychic, and it would charge you by the minute. And then your parents would get the phone bill for like $60-$70 for these 900 numbers, and you swore you didn't do it.
I swear.
Only one home when your parents were at work. So there was no way around.
Maybe it was the neighbor and they got mixed up. I don't know what you're talking about, man.
You know, I tried that one too, and it didn't work.
Are you going for the sex or the psychic?
Who knows? Depend on the day, I guess. If it was the sex number, it was probably just to laugh, giggle like teenagers and then hang up.
My day was that, but it was like late night TV commercials where it was like, I don't even know if I can do it right. It should be like, I am Tranilia and I know the future. Like, that sounded really bad, but you know what I mean.
What was her name? There was a show about her on HBO. She was like the psychic that would always come on the TV.
Yeah, the late night
Cleo,
TV.
Miss Cleo.
Miss Cleo.
She had a literally rough life. If you have HBO Max, you need to go watch it because it's actually pretty sad. But
I haven't watched it, but I might now, just because like I remember that. Every night, it's like, turn the TV off. Like, because you fall asleep to the TV and it's Cleo.
Yeah, Miss Cleo. My friend's mom was a phone psychic to earn extra money when we were teenagers. And she would get calls and have like this little manual. And people would give keywords and she would open up the book when they would give keywords. And then she would be able to pick like any random response within this section.
What?
Yeah. So I hope I didn't just shatter, what you believed this whole time, but you were lied to.
By the way, you were lied
Your
to.
future was out of a book. Depending on the word you used. So
and you paid $5 a minute for it.
And your psychic was probably just laying in bed in her pajamas. Or not.
Depending on which number you called.
Or not in her pajamas. Yeah. So,
okay.
Anyway, how was your day?
Man, today was an emotional one for me. How about you?
My day was actually really good, except that my voice started going out again.
Yeah, man.
Today it was almost back, and today it's gone. But I'm going to go to the doctor and figure out why the heck I can't talk. Because we have a podcast. I need to be able to talk.
Just don't ever do that again and you'll be fine.
You told me last time to get close to the microphone.
Yeah, but I didn't tell you to hit up your 900 voice.
It's already been hit.
Don't say that either. Emma.
So what are we going to talk about today?
So today we're talking about, that's a great question. Hold on. What are we talking about today? We are talking about why playing small is no longer an option. Because why the fuck did we ever do that?
We did it because we learned that we had to. That's what we.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And we didn't know any different, so we
Forgot about that
kind
part.
of taught to be grateful for what you get.
Mm-hmm.
You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. And you just don't ever want more because you have what you need. And beyond that, there's no need.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was definitely put in a box. Like, you're too loud, or you talk about yourself too much. If you don't want to talk about me with me, like, there's the door, right? But I didn't know that. So I literally would be like, even in my later years, I would be like in my head about what I'm talking about with someone. And I strategically would, the voice inside my head would be like, okay, you've been talking about yourself for a while. Ask a question about them to make them feel good. So in my head, the voice inside my head would say, wow, you've been talking about yourself for a hot minute. Chill out. Ask a question about them because they need to be heard too. And there was something that I was constantly told is like, stop talking about yourself. And so I shrank and I shrank and I shrank. And then I became this version of myself that was like such a subdued version of me. If you're taking medication, I became a version of myself on medication without medication. Like, does that even make sense?
Yeah, well, we were taught not to be prideful. So if we talked a lot about ourselves, then we were being prideful and not caring about, we were being selfish and self-centered. So we were not supposed to talk about.
Yeah, but it taught me to not love myself. It taught me that my worth is not above anyone else's, that my needs and my values and my feelings were not important. And so when you start having relationships, especially romantic ones, you carry that into the relationships. And you think, okay, I have to look like this in order to keep the version of what I think this should look like. And really, it's like, you got to burn that shit to the ground and realize that the person that's meant for you will love what you have to say.
Yeah,
you know?
When I first started dating my husband, I would say and do things and then pause because I was waiting for the same response that I got from my ex-husband, which was usually snapping and just yelling and shouting and told it was wrong and everything else. So I would just stop and wait, and it never came. And I was like, either you're sick or I am, because this is not normal. You're actually being nice to me and just letting me talk it out. And it was odd for me. But now I would expect and accept nothing less. So now I'm trying to move that into other aspects of my life. And now I'm in my pivot mode.
That's fucking awesome. Wait, Is that Friends? Get out.
Yeah, it is. I even have a pivot tattoo because it's my favorite episode. Well, one of them. Because it's not only my favorite episode of Friends.
Oh, sorry. I'm just kidding.
Because Friends helped me through some pretty hard times. But it really does tell a story because I've been through the shit. And now I've pivoted my narrative. I've changed my own narrative to be her. I am her.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah, that's why I love it so much.
I mean, I think that really we should talk about like what it looks like at the core of it, I guess. Because for me, it was in my marriage, right? That feeling stuck or feeling like, okay, I made this choice and I said yes. So now this is my life. I don't have an out. And then losing your identity within that. And I mean, it gets so deep. I think we should touch on what that can look like. Because for me, what we're talking about resonates in the relationship, obviously. Like we've been talking about your ex-husband versus your husband. For me, it's my ex-husband versus just the healthy version of myself that I'm building right now. And this looks different for everyone. And we say this a lot, there's no one size fits all for anything that we ever talk about. But it's so funny how the situations, it's almost like parallel because the feeling is the same. The thing that's happening might be different, but it elicits the same anxiety or fear at a cellular level. And so I think it's good to acknowledge that, like acknowledge what that looks like, because some people are going to still be in that. They'll be listening and they'll be in that stuck mode. They won't relate to yet the growth piece of it. They could still be in the seeking validation outside of them and survival mode. So what did that look like for you, Em? Like what? Because your story is so different from mine, but it's so relatable. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so a lot of mine stems from how I was raised. I was raised in a very structured, faith-based family, and our rules were aligned with the religion that I was being raised in. And so I didn't really have the ability to talk about certain things and learn about myself and what I wanted and what I liked. And, I didn't have the ability to just explore what I wanted to explore. And because of that, I felt sheltered and stifled. And so when I finally made the decision, November 1st of last year was the day that I completely severed my relationship with my 40 plus year religious upbringing. I really started to be able to open up, and I developed a lot of anxiety with that because I didn't know how to maneuver what those new things that I was feeling, because as much as I wanted to be out of it, that was my safe space for so long, and I didn't know how to deal with all the things that were coming to my brain and everything else. And then I started to branch out. I started to do things that I wanted to do, and a lot of those were in the space of being able to earn money. But I had such a toxic relationship with money because I tied my worth to money. And so when people would start coming to me and saying, hey, I need your help, how much will you charge? I would completely shut down and freeze and be like,
you're like $5.
I have no idea. I mean, you have to tell me what you're going to pay me. Even you know this. I said this to you.
I went through
You're going to have to tell me what you're going to pay me, because
but also on the receiving, or not the receiving end, but on the other end of that is like, I'm only going to pay you what you say, because I'm not going to be like, oh, you want 300? Let me pay you 800. You know what I mean? Like I want to pay you what you're worth, but what you're worth, you get to say. You tell me what you're worth. I don't know. This is not my expertise. Yeah. I didn't do the research to figure out who charges what in the market. I just want you to do this task, and I want you to tell me what the hell you want for it, and I'll pay you.
And I didn't have that ability, because I always equated my worth with a dollar amount. And I was so afraid that what I was going to give was either not complete or wrong. And so I would completely shut down, because I was torn down to my core for 20 plus years, just being made feel like I was just the dirt under people's shoe, and I was no better than that. And so in the last year, not even a year, maybe 6 months, I've really started to undo all that. Now I don't feel like my worth is tied to money anymore. And now I'm much more comfortable with putting myself out there, and my relationship, even though it's not with a person per se in this situation, my relationship with money is allowing me to develop more relationships with my clients, with the people that I help, because they can see that I'm more confident in saying, okay, you want me to build you a website? Here's how much I'm going to charge you. You want me to help you publish a book? Here's what it's going to cost. Instead of, I'll just do it because you're my friend.
I mean, which worked out for me in the beginning. It's like, hell yeah. Let's do it.
So, I mean, like you said, everybody's path is different, even though the struggle can be the same at times with the relationship piece, and whether that's with a physical thing or a person or with ourselves or whatever.
It's all energy. It's all energy, perspective, and awareness.
Yep.
Everything. And growth doesn't happen. I would argue growth doesn't happen until you hit rock bottom. If you have, I don't know if I have ever met anyone who hasn't hit rock bottom at least once in their lifetime. And that looks different for everyone. And I think that back in the day, I used to be like, because I've gone through like some shit, and through the episodes, we can unpack a lot of the stuff that I've worked on. And we can even start unpacking some of the things I'm currently working on, because I think that there's beauty in the unpacking of it in real time. But I used to think like that person got an F. Oh, poor baby. Like, I almost died yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, it's that comparison. It's that competitive nature, like human nature of like, I don't know. And sometimes you can like, and this is what you have to be careful about, is like you can group up with people and it literally turns out to whose dick is bigger, except for life version.
Yeah.
Like, whose trauma is bigger, you know? And I noticed that I was in a lot of these conversations and they weren't healthy. There wasn't anything that was coming out of them. It was more of a misery loves company, and the energy felt so icky. And so I had to become aware of that and realize when it was time to exit stage left. So tell me about like the fear aspect of it. Was it like the fear of being too much? Was it just all the conditioning from your childhood? Because I know that there's so many people, it doesn't matter what religion that you're in, and I'm not here to judge or tell anyone anything about who or what they should or shouldn't do, right? This is a collective where we come together and we learn about everything, and then you get to take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't. So there's no judgments, but I do feel like there's a lot of people who get into kind of the experiences or religion where there's dark aspects to everything, right? There's good and bad within every group. So can you tell me like what, and you don't have to deep dive or anything if you don't want to, but like what was it for you in the religion aspect that kept you tied to it? And then what was your aha moment?
The religion that I was raised in was very service-based, and a lot of times you just did things for people out of the goodness of your heart because that's what Jesus would do. And so asking for money for things that I would do for people was just not really a concept that I understood. Was more of the exchange. The money was more of an exchange of energy, you know, rather than the actual physical thing. And on top of that, like I said at the very beginning, we were taught to just be happy with whatever we had, what we were given. And so to be given the opportunity to help somebody, that should have been enough. But a lot of it came from not only the religious part of it. That was a huge part of it because that was the basis of everything. But a lot of it was the fear of not doing it right.
Yeah.
Going to let people down. And then if they gave me any money for it, they were going to ask for their money back. This whole thing going through my head. And, you know, I was in network marketing for a time. And the thought of approaching people and talking about what I was offering literally debilitated me physically. I had a reading with Dr. Michael because I could not. Dr. Michael's a spiritual advisor and he's an amazing man. but I literally would cry and my whole body would freeze because I could not talk to people about anything I was selling out of the fear of rejection. That was another part of it, was fear of rejection, because I had been conditioned to believe that I just had to kind of go with the flow and do what everybody else wanted me to, because in a whole different situation, because I needed to do that in order to survive and have a relationship with my children, which we'll talk about at another time. But so I just kind of went along with it, and I didn't say anything about what I was offering because I didn't want to be rejected.
Yeah.
I had been rejected so much in my life. So
that's so relatable, I think, not just in the religion space, but just as people, right? I feel like everyone has a purpose. And when you find that purpose and you're aligned, it's such a beautiful thing. But so many people don't do it because they're fucking scared. Fear is debilitating. And in order for you, and what I want to know is, what was it that clicked in your brain that made you say, I am worthy, I can do this? Because I think that that's like the key, right? If we start picking each other's brains and figuring out what that looks like, then we can start processing and figure out, oh, well, what does that look like for me? So what was the moment? Because I feel like it was pretty recent. Like, we've known each other a long time, and I feel like a lot of the growth that you've had, I mean, even coming on this podcast is like fucking phenomenal for you. Like,
so one of the first moments that really told me that I was worth it and that I was worthy, there was two times. The first one happened, so my son got married. He's gonna kill me if he listens to this. 4 years 5 years ago. Anyway, and it was the first time that I had been in the same room with the person that had caused me so much grief and pain for 20 years. And she reached out her hand and thanked me for coming to my son's wedding. And at that moment, I just said, you know what? No more. I'm not doing this anymore. And we'll talk about that story, and you'll all understand later why that moment was just it for me. And I said, enough is enough. I'm not going to drown anymore. My head is now above the water because I am worth more than this. So that was when it started. And after that, the biggest moment was when David passed away, and he came to me and told me that she needs your help. And we realized it was Alyssa that needed my help. And again, all these names that we're throwing out here, you're all gonna either meet them or hear about them quite a bit. Yeah. I started to learn more things about me. I learned that I knew more than I thought, that I had more abilities than I thought. If I didn't have them, I could quickly learn them. And it was in that major moment that I said, you know what? Not only am I worth it, not only is my head above water, but I'm going to raise up out of the water completely. My shoulders aren't even covered. I'm just up, and so that's when I really started opening. Huh?
In your birthday suit, though?
In my birthday suit.
I knew it.
There's no other way to come out of the water. It's so funny when you're just out of the water and just, there you are.
In all your glory.
But yeah, and then everything just started opening up after that. And then I really got the courage after that to really say, you know what, I'm going out on my own. I don't want this. I'm grateful for what I learned as a child. I'm grateful for the lessons that I had while I was part of this organization, but I can't be aligned with this organization anymore because it doesn't fit who I am now.
That's so,
There's a bunch of other little moments that went into that, but those are the two most powerful ones.
Well, and then that brings up the quote that we talked about earlier. It's like playing small is self-protection dressed up as modesty. Like when you play small, you're not just cheating yourself. You're cheating everyone else out of meeting the glorious version of you that you're not sharing with anyone. And I feel like when our highest and greatest energy is shared and reciprocated, man, what a beautiful like world that we would live in if more people could hit that level of just the frequency of love and not hide behind society and not hide behind our wounds and not compartmentalize. And it's so much easier said than done. What I just said is like 50 layers of the onion. But I mean, I would pose the question of like, what stories are you telling yourself? What is it that what is the reason that you feel like you have to shrink or be the version of yourself that you don't want to be?
Well, I think it's also, obviously, it's an infinity wheel. The cycle never ends. There's a lot of facets to my story. And as I'm emerging and sharing those things, I'm also able to expand my knowledge in certain areas. For example, one tool that really helped me heal was writing my first book, my memoir. Mm-hmm. And now I help other people do the same thing. And once I started helping Alyssa with her business stuff, now I'm branching out to help other people. But there is still parts of me that wants to keep that under wraps subconsciously. I have people that tell me all the time, I didn't even know that you do this back end stuff. I didn't even know that you do this because you post a little bit about it on your social media. You're just dripping it. You need to go all in and just really share everything that you do. But that's part of what I'm working through is being able to go all in. Right now, I'm still just dripping it out there because that's where I'm comfortable, but I need to not stay where I'm comfortable because I'm not going to grow if I just stay where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
So.
And I think the sidebar of this is like, it's not comfortable. Like, honestly, I feel like the last at least 6 months of my life have been so uncomfortable that a part of me is like, wants to like go back in my shell and be like, but that's like, that version of me doesn't even exist anymore. But it's like, some days I'm just like, wouldn't it be nice to just, and I'm like, wait, what are you saying? Like, because the saying like ignorance is bliss. I truly believe that. Ignorance is absolutely bliss, but once you see, you can't unsee.
It's bliss for the moment, but then you're like...
For the moment, exactly.
I'm missing out on so much by sitting in this blissful state. Being content is okay for a minute, but then you start to become complacent the longer you become content. You're not going to want to move past this comfort zone, and you're like, I've already learned that and I don't want to learn anything else, or whatever the case may be. You become complacent, and then you just start to regret that you didn't do it, and then there's a whole other level of shit.
Yeah. And I mean, moral of this is that it's uncomfortable, and it's a lot of emotions, and it's a lot of unpacking. But the version that you become after is worth every single struggle. And the fact that I know, I'm getting like soul chills right now. The fact that I know that you and I and our circle, like our people, our inner circle, are at the tip of the iceberg of what we are coming into and the change that we are evoking in people, and there's just no words. Like, we're just at the beginning of this. And I feel like becoming her is bumpy and messy and dirty, and you swim through the swamp. But once you get to the other side, you experience so much love and peace. And then you start to be able to balance the chaos. Because another thing is that, one, like you said, the work doesn't stop, right? So just when you get through like your first awakening, you have this like blissful moment and you're good. And then you get slapped with the next awakening. And it sounds, it's like, I don't want to like scare people away from like doing the work, but I also want to be authentic and real and honest about what it is. And it will break you. It will shatter you. But those moments allow you to burn shit to the ground, to the foundation, readjust your foundation if needed, and then build something so beautiful. And what's even more beautiful about it is that you're building with choice. How amazing is it that up until your break, you were built by validation from other people and childhood wounds and trauma and all of these things. And then you hit your breaking point and everything explodes. And then as you put the pieces together, you get to choose what stays in your foundation and what's got to go. And when you start making conscious choices that's when you start seeing the changes and the goodness of what can come.
Well, there's a reason that I have a lotus tattoo on my arm, because lotus flowers grow in the mud, but they're a beautiful flower because they represent renewal and rebirth and just reawakening, you know? Yeah. And everybody that's listening to this podcast right now, you have survived every single bad day.
100% of them.
And it's all in the mindset. You can either say, yeah, you know what, you're right. Or you can say, yeah, but, and then just erase the positive that you just said. That's your choice. But the fact is, you have survived every single bad day that you have ever had. So you can choose from this point forward to trudge through the mud and be reborn, essentially, regrow into something more beautiful. Or you can let people stomp you down. You can stomp yourself down and be stuck there too. So it's your choice.
For sure. And so I have a few prompts that people can write down for journaling. Now, on this podcast, we're going to talk about modalities, right? We're going to introduce people. We're going to bring people in who can teach these modalities and give you tools to address some of the broken shards that you're feeling, right? And meet them with love, but also with different different tools on the tool belt, right? So one of those tools on your tool belt is journaling, right? Writing. I mean, writing is a huge form for you, Em. And although Em and I just did this channeling thing, I don't know what to call it, but it was really cool. And I was told to stream of conscious journal. And for those of you that don't know what stream of conscious journaling is, it's literally when you like set a timer for 5 minutes or whatever, and you literally write everything that's on your mind. You vomit onto the page. It doesn't have to make sense, nothing. You just go. And I don't know if you remember, Em, but I was like, yep, that's not my favorite. Like, that's
you sure did say that.
But what I've found is when I do take the time to do it, I learn so much and I connect with myself on such a deeper level than probably any other tool that I have in my tool belt. Because it's just me paper. And I know you understand that.
Oh, yeah, I totally understand that. I don't I have to reframe it in my brain to something other than journaling because.
But what did you reframe it as? Like, what do you call it?
Writing, just writing. I don't call it journal because it was something that was kind of expected of me, not necessarily for me to process and work through my own feelings, but it was more to keep a record for my ancestors to read 50 years later.
Didn't you say like you could literally write your name, the date, the time, and then like
the weather
foggy today?
Yeah, and that was just not a thing for me. And so now I have such a passion for writing and encouraging other people to share their stories of things they've overcome, or any writing really, because I've published 13 books. A lot of them are, only one is a memoir. A lot of mine are short novels, but every book I've written has something to do with an experience that I've been through or I've witnessed.
And it heals.
It's very healing.
And so for me, speaking is that, right? Like words are my version of that, but that doesn't mean that I don't have to tap into other things to get to the point to where what I'm saying is impactful, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. My brain just goes to, if I have a dream or any experience, I think, how can I turn this into a book? We have a really good friend
love that,
who creates box experiences, you know, that people can go through that we actually utilize in one of our programs. And his brain does that too when how can I turn this into an experience? But
I love that.
What I wanted to suggest as far as journaling, because a lot of people do get stuck. You know,
so let me tell you really quick. Let me tell you really quick before you go into that. My journaling problem is, what was that movie? She was like a little FBI agent, like
Nancy Drew.
No, she had long brown hair. Hold on,
Harriet the Spy.
So she was like my first journal like experience, where it's like, dear dad, and then you're talking shit about people. Like, do you know what I mean? And I loved that movie. So my first journal that I got for Christmas, up until I want to say like kind of embarrassingly, my journaling, 8th grade maybe, was a fucking burn book. That shit was not a journal. It was a fucking burn book. And it was exactly that. And so for me, I would literally sit down to journal when I started like healing and whatever. And I'd be like, I don't want to talk about people. Like, I don't give a fuck about them. Like, what? And that's something to listen to also, is like, no, it's time for you. It's time to talk about you, your things. And I think that when moving through life, we do that so much, where them. And my sister used to tell me, when you're pointing a finger at someone else, there's 3 more pointing back at you. And that resonated with me so much, because I started thinking, every time I was blaming someone for something, I was like, okay, well, what's my piece in it? And that gets deeper and darker, because I went through the opposite side of that, where I took too much on, and we can get into that another time. The point is, that's where my journaling came from. I thought it was Harriet the Spy. That was kind of funny. And it's so funny because your journaling came from like religion and mine came from a movie.
Although I do have, I think I still have them. I do have those little diaries that you could lock, you know.
That was literally my next thing.
Yeah. And it was full of, you know, I love NKOTB, because that was my New Kids on the Block phase. And everybody that I had a crush on. And I read and I do laugh at some of the things that I thought I should write in these journals, you know. But anyway, for those of you that get stuck, what I had when I was a teenager, and I actually do encourage this, because if you are a journaler, and it actually helps me with story prompts. I have one somewhere, but it's a jar, and just write down a bunch of different prompts, even print them off the internet or whatever, cut them up, put them in the jar. You want to write about something, but you don't know, pull a prompt out and just read it, and that will trigger something in your brain. 365 of them, you have one every day.
Segue, that's perfect, because I have 4 prompts that you can write down, and I'll say them now, but Em and I can put it into like an email and send them to you, or create a link, right, Em, of some type where people can click on the episode and then have the journal prompts and all the information we want to get to them. So I'm just going to kind of read through these right now. Where in my life am I still playing small? What am I afraid will happen if I fully step into my power? What would my expanded self say to me right now? And what am I no longer available for? These are fucking fantastic. These are so powerful. And I think that what's going to happen is people are going to sit down and they're going to be like, especially that last one, they're going to be like, I don't know. This is when you stream of conscious journal. Okay. This is when you write it, just get it all out on the paper. And I promise when you get to minute, like, even if you only do 2 minutes, when you get to the end of the 2 minutes, you're probably going to keep going, because I find that at like minute 1 or 2 is oftentimes when I hit the guts, when I hit the really what I'm trying to open up about. And I'm like, oh, there it is. And then I keep going. And then when you read it all, you're like, some of the things that come through, man, it's insane. Highly, highly recommend. So
even if you have to throw an F-bomb in there when you're writing, just don't edit it. Just write it raw. Just write.
And don't worry about spelling. Like, I'm a horrible speller. And so that used to, when I was doing stream of consciousness, I'd get like 2 minutes in and I only wrote like a couple paragraphs because I'm like trying to get my handwriting right. And that's the perfectionism, right? So as you do these exercises, things are going to start coming out and being like, you can't ignore them anymore. They're like a slap in the face. And you're like, I'm a perfectionist. Okay, good to know. And this is how you become aware of something and then decide if that's something that you like about yourself and you want to keep around, or if you want to adjust it a little bit, or if you just want to throw it out. Like,
if it no longer serves you, just
no longer serves you.
Leave it.
Gotta go. And so, and that is what these modalities will teach you, and these tools that you're going to get when you come into I Am Her. It will make you question a lot of things. It will make life a little bit uncomfortable, but you're going to start having these awakenings. And we'd love to hear what comes of your process. Did you actually stream of consciousness journal? Did you have some type of awakening? Did you wake up after listening to this podcast and you're like, fuck it? And you just
I'm throwing glitter on it.
I'm throwing glitter on it.
My birthday suit. I'm just doing it.
Yes. I would love to hear about that. Either like if you're watching us on YouTube, like comment, what is it that you're feeling like? And if nothing, that's okay too. This didn't resonate with you. So, I mean, I definitely would love to see comments, and like, we definitely want to interact and make sure that the content that we're providing is actually doing what our intention is. Our intention is to help you see more of yourself so that you can become her, the version of you that you were always meant to be. And for a lot of us, we did all of this work in the dark, and a lot of us didn't have community when we went through this. And if you have the opportunity to come across someone who's done the work and who's laying it out and saying, this is what the fuck I did. I did it in the dark, but you get cocoon to butterfly steps. You get my 1, 2, 3 steps. If you are lucky enough to grab onto that, fucking run with it, dude. Because a lot of us threw spaghetti against the wall, and when that shit didn't work and it burned and it hurt and we cried and we did a lot of that alone. And what a beautiful thing now that there are so many communities popping up where we're able to talk through things and grow together.
We want to build this into a whole community, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, please share. And I don't know if YouTube has an option to share anonymously. I don't know how that works, but you don't have to tell your name. We just want to hear about your experiences. And if you want us to talk about anything in particular, please let us know. So I know today's episode was a little bit more on the serious, heavier side. So next time we're going to have a lot of fun. But I just want to tell you, is it safe to say that I might have a drinking problem? Because I have hot tea and cold tea.
I have cold.
So, yeah.
This is literally my rainbow, like mango Tintin tea. And then this is like, it's a Starbucks cup, but it's just like my sparkling water with my little sugarless packets because I'm a psycho and I don't like to drink plain water. So, I mean, and a lot of times I'll have like 3 or 4 drinks because I'll have like a hot something too, or like sometimes I want hot tea and these things. And it's like, which one do I want this time? So you're not alone. You're in good company.
Okay. Yay.
So I want to nudge you to step into gratitude, step into queen energy. I want you to imagine what your life, or I call, I invite you to think about your life in its highest form. What does that look like for you? If you were to remove, this might sound bad. If you were to remove your husband, remove your kids from the equation, which I don't recommend, stick with me, remove everything from your life and put yourself at the core. What is it that you want? What is it that makes you feel like the queen that you are? And then once you can stop asking for permission to take up space, once you find where it is that you need to expand into, then you add those things back. And I'm talking about, this is an exercise. I'm not saying like you have to remove everyone for a month or a year or whatever.
Wouldn't that be nice?
But although I did, I mean, you can do, I've done it. Like in the sense of like claiming my power and just not talking to anyone or going out or doing anything for like a year.
Or like our friend Jamie that went into the wilderness for like 7 days or something.
Her story was so fantastic.
Like the closest person was up the hill. Like,
yeah.
nobody
Like
was out there.
deep in wilderness, like anything.
No technology, nothing.
Bats,
Nothing.
cougars, lions, like everything was out there, and you just had to trust that your little protection bubble was there, and you're
And she
just
slept in a
there.
hammock.
Yeah.
And then she got back and had to sleep in her bed and she couldn't sleep. She'll be a guest. She can tell you all about it.
Yeah, I can't wait. I hope she tells that story because that is like really, it's so good. It's so good for your soul to just get back to the basics of without technology and without the distractions, without the people, without the judgment.
Though I don't think I could.
Would I try? I wouldn't pay to do it.
Yeah, like that show, Naked and Afraid or whatever. Oh, yeah. I would be like, okay, it's been an hour. I'm ready. Come pick me up.
Tab out. I'm tabbing out. They're like, bitch, you're not even there yet. We haven't even dropped you off. Oh, okay. Bye. I'm out. What does expansion look like for you? And what are the challenges that you're facing right now? Like, comment what those are, and we can like deep dive into those, because those are the things that we need to talk about. That's what the collective is experiencing. And something that I definitely want to talk about in an episode coming up is masculine energy versus feminine energy. When do we switch? What does that look like? What are your needs? You know, so I'm really excited to dive into that.
Yeah, that'll be
in one of our other episodes, because I feel like that is so important, is getting to know like your type, like who you are, so that you can figure out what's important to you. That comes at the core of figuring out who the fuck you are so that you can become her. And then you work the rest of your life to be her. Welcome.
And then when you get her, you have to work the rest of your life to stay her.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially. But that it sounds so bad when you say it like that, Em. It's so good.
Like working the rest of your life to stay her, you mean?
Yeah, it's so
I think
good.
it's because it's the infinity wheel. It's never ending. You know, the work is never done and you can't be
Right, but once you get to a certain point, what I will say about that is that once you get to a certain point, when you hit challenges, you see the duality of pain versus true love and embodiment. And at least for me, and this is just in my last experience, which we can get into another time. We can talk about some of the stupidity. It's fine. But when you feel that, like one of my childhood wounds just opened up, one that I've never touched. And it had to do with anxious attachments. And I was crying because I was so broken inside, just tore open. But I also felt so much joy in it because I could see the bird's eye view of what it was doing and what was coming and what this meant for me. And that little girl inside of me, she didn't have to hold on to that anymore. And how beautiful is that? Even though it hurt. It hurt so, I almost want to say it hurt so good because it hurt so much. But as I was breaking, I had this joy coming, like this moment where I was like, I could see where I was going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you knew what you were becoming. You knew what was on the other side. So you could joy before you even got there.
And that's what I mean is like when you start doing it and you see these results coming at you, you start being able to see, well, I experienced that low and that is how I experienced these great moments, is knowing the difference in the duality of the dark and the light.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful thing. But my point is easier might be the wrong word. It may not be easier, but the challenge is you start working through them a lot faster and you get to the other side faster. An example would be, oh my gosh, everyone's going to see this. So, okay. So I was in a marriage for 7 years and it took me that long to choose myself. And then I was in a relationship for 6 months. And I learned more in that 6 months than I did in my 7-year marriage. And in that 6 months, I was able to choose myself in 6 months, not another 7-year period. Does that make sense? Like, it happened faster. I was able to go through the things and apply the wisdom that I had and the work that I had done on myself. And that 6 months could have been I could have married and easily done another 7 years. But I knew what it was like to choose myself, and I knew what I wouldn't settle for, and I stuck with that.
Yeah.
And so you get through the work a little bit faster and you learn faster and you see things from a different lens, and that helps a lot when you do hit these challenges. So,
yeah. Okay, well, we like to talk, in case y'all didn't notice. We could talk for days.
Ever.
Days.
Ever.
These are the days of our lives.
Oh, no.
Like sands through the hourglass. Anyhow, okay. Well, like I said, this one was a little bit heavy, but next time we'll have a lot of fun. Let's move into her vibe check. So what was your top takeaway today?
I think my top takeaway was just listening to your story. And I feel like every time I hear it, I get a new aspect of it, which gives me a new golden nugget that I can take with me. And I love hearing people's stories because when I'm telling my story, I heal. But when I actively listen to other people's stories, I also heal. And so I think my biggest takeaway is that we just listening to you and being able to ask you questions and really kind of break it down and be like, what was going on in your fucking head? That's a lot, you know?
I ask myself that question every day.
Same. Like, what is going on in here?
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
So I think for me, my biggest takeaway is just understanding that even though we are all on different paths, we're all more similar than we realize. And we can find strength in each other.
Yeah.
And finding and creating this community is already so amazing. Even on our second episode, you know, like I just feel like it's going to be some place where people feel safe and heard, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. And I think that I'm excited for us to get kind of more organized and figure out kind of like a process of, we'll get there.
Yeah.
I think that the conversations that we're having are important and will be so healing, because I can remember having conversations with some friends and being like, God, we should have recorded that.
Yeah.
So many people could have healed from that, you know? And now we're actually doing it. So badass, babe.
What up? Yeah, throwing glitter on it.
Throw some glitter on it.
All right. Well, until next time, take what resonates, leave the rest, and remember, somewhere a lion in a Hawaiian shirt is cheering you on.
Amen.
Peace out. Peace. Bye, friends.